Welcome back to another recap. Today, we're diving headfirst into Final Destination, Bloodlines, a twisted new entry in the franchise. It's 1968, and we open with Paul, a clean-cut romantic type, driving his girlfriend Iris somewhere special. She's blindfolded, not in a kinky way, just a surprise. They pull up in front of the Sky View Tower, a 494-foot skyscraper. Paul wants to take her to the grand opening of the rooftop Sky View restaurant. Iris is thrilled until she isn't. Red flags are flapping in the wind. The elevator boy casually mentions the tower was finished 5 months ahead of schedule, which is a 1968 equivalent of "you will absolutely die here." They get to the top and try to blend in because their reservation vanished, just like the future hopes of everyone in that building, and Iris heads to the restroom. Inside, she chats with the lounge singer, who has a young son, playing around the tower. In classic horror fashion, the child will absolutely live longer than the adults. Oh, and surprise, Iris is pregnant. Because we need emotional stakes before we set everything on fire. Paul finds her and takes her to the rooftop, where a tiny demon disguised as a child is gleefully chucking pennies off the edge. Paul drops to one knee to propose. She tells him she's pregnant. He's thrilled. They're engaged. Everything is lovely. Too bad everyone is about to die. The penny, the literal copper coin of doom, gets stuck into a vent inside the tower and causes a domino chain of WTFs. The dance floor, made of transparent glass, starts cracking mid-boogie. Bolts are flying out like popcorn. Then, the floor gives out like your will to live during a Monday meeting. Bodies rain down the tower. People are sliced, diced, and served as tragedy tartare. Paul, poor sap, is left dangling off the edge. He slips. Brain meets tower. The crowd panics. The chef gets tackled holding a flaming pan, setting a woman ablaze. The penny, now fully possessed by Satan, zips back through the vents and causes a fireball explosion that flambés anyone within 10 feet of a wine glass. The survivors rush the stairs. The building collapses mid-stampede. Half the tower disintegrates like it's made of Jenga. And who's left? Iris and the little boy. They're trapped at the top of a burning, crumbling, vertical death trap. They try to escape, dodging flames, debris, and gravity, but this is Final Destination, not Final Redemption. They don't make it. They never had a chance. Cut to Steph Reyes, a college student who has officially become that girl. The one who screams bloody murder in class and won't let her roommate have a one-night sleep. After weeks of waking up from the same nightmare, a horrifying, full-sensory rerun of the skyscraper fiasco for 1968, featuring apparently her grandma Iris, Steph has had enough, and so has her roommate. She packs her emotional damage in a duffel and goes home. She's greeted by her father, Marty. She asks him about her mother's old keepsake box, the one with answers to her generational nightmare problem. Marty shrugs and tells her he threw it away after her mother left. Steph tells him she wants to find her grandmother, Iris, the literal woman from her death dreams. Marty stiffens and warns her not to mention Iris in front of her uncle. Just then, enters Charlie, Steph's younger brother. He's all off to see the cousins, and Steph decides to tag along. He doesn't look thrilled to see her. They roll up to Uncle Howard and Aunt Brenda's suburban house, where they're greeted by cousins Eric, Julia, and Bobby. Charlie's treated like a king. Steph, like the person who brings up politics at Thanksgiving. Things are fine until Steph ruins the vibe completely by asking Uncle Howard about his mother, Iris. Cue. Everyone's buttholes tightening at once. Howard goes full brick wall mode. The others glare at her. But Steph, on zero sleep, pushes harder. Finally, Howard cracks and explains that Iris didn't let them go to school or outside. The state had to take them from her. And then she started mailing them obituaries. Turns out Grandma Iris went full doomsday hermit post-1968. Not just tinfoil hat crazy, but hardware store sponsor crazy. Steph, completely ignoring everyone telling her to drop it, goes to Aunt Brenda and begs her for help. Brenda, after a moment of maternal guilt, sighs and points her to the cursed letters. The letters lead Steph to a cabin in the middle of absolutely nowhere. This is no grandma cottage. This is booby trap palace. Picture Home Alone, but if Kevin grew up and got a bunker. Outside the gate, spiked barricades, security cameras, motion sensors, a sign that says, "No trespassing." Steph stares at this murder mansion and still thinks, yeah, let me go inside. Iris lets her in. No chainsaw, no shotgun, just a surprisingly normal, if slightly mothball-scented, old woman. She finally meets her granddaughter Steph. Flesh and blood. They sit, but not before Iris rattles off a laundry list of strange house rules. Eventually, they settle down. Steph dives in. She tells her about the dream, the tower, the fall, the screams. Then Iris tells Steph her dream. It was actually Iris's premonition. She tells Steph what really happened. She saw it all unravel beforehand. The Sky View Tower's glass dance floor cracking open like a cursed ice rink. The people falling through it like meat through a paper shredder. The screams, the fire, the doom. So she changed it. She snatched the penny from the boy's hand and ran inside. Told everyone the floor was about to collapse. And somehow, they listened. She saved them all. Big mistake. Because apparently, death? Yeah, he hates spoilers. Iris explains that the moment she disrupted the collapse, she broke the chain. Lives that were supposed to end that night didn't. And death doesn't just move on, he recalibrates. He came back over the years and started killing everyone who was supposed to die that night. One by one, in the exact order they were meant to go. And then, he kept going. Their children, their families, bloodlines, because they were never meant to be. After Paul died, she isolated herself, dug into the rules of death. She wrote a book, a literal manual for cheating death. And for years, it worked. She survived, rigged traps, saw signs, outmaneuvered fate. But now, she has cancer. Death found a loophole. Iris wants to teach Steph everything. But Steph, understandably, is freaked out and wants to leave. So she heads to the door. Panicked, Iris follows. For the first time in 20 years, she steps outside. She clutches the book, her life's work, her last defense, and shoves it into Steph's hands. She begs her to take the book and protect the bloodline. Steph stares at her, torn between horror, pity, and total disbelief. And that's when Iris does something insane to prove her point. She walks a few feet forward, looks up, and lets herself get impaled by a freaking weather vane that comes loose and drops from the roof. Right through her head. Steph screams. The whole family gathers at Iris's funeral. But the real drama kicks in when, like a ghost from the family trauma vault, Darlene shows up. That's right, Steph and Charlie's long-lost mom. Because, hey, it is her own mother's funeral. Charlie, sweet summer child that he is, lights up like it's Christmas morning. Steph, not so much. Her face could crack concrete. Darlene left years ago without so much as a forwarded address, and now she just strolls in. Then Charlie reminds Steph she left too, for college, and oops, didn't call back. Steph pieces out of the cemetery. She skips the post-burial barbecue at the cousins because she's not about to share potato salad with a woman who bailed on her childhood. Back at home, Steph picks up Grandma Iris's book. Cut to the barbecue. Everyone's cheerfully setting up what looks less like a family gathering and more like a Final Destination booby trap showcase. Red flags are everywhere. There's a rake under the trampoline. A broken shard of glass is just chilling in someone's cup. Darlene brings peanut butter cookies, completely forgetting Bobby's death-level allergy. Meanwhile, Steph, now a believer, is speeding toward the barbecue like the only sane person in a horror movie. Hair flying, eyes wild, Grandma's cursed book in the passenger seat. She arrives just in time, or so it seems. Everything freezes for a moment, the calm before the bloody storm. People are laughing. Then, the chain reaction. Howard, poor Howard, meets his gruesome fate, courtesy of a runaway lawnmower. Head first, blade spinning, blood and bits flying like confetti at the world's worst party. Cut to Howard's funeral. 2 down, plenty more to go. The floral arrangements haven't even wilted before Steph goes full conspiracy theorist with a glue stick and Grandma's cursed diary. She's neck deep, in old obituaries. She's circling names, drawing arrows, muttering, "Who is JB?" like she's unraveling the Zodiac Killer's high school yearbook. There's a family tree on the wall that looks more like a death chart. The next day, Steph gathers the entire surviving family, for the big reveal. She's got the living room looking like a Dateline NBC crime board. She points at a wall of obituaries. Each face a member of the infamous Sky View Tower restaurant crowd, the ones who survived and then died in the most elaborate ways possible. And the kicker? They all died in exactly the same order as in Iris's premonition. Steph's basically screaming. Anyone else notice death is working off a to-do list? The family, however, is not impressed. Steph pushes harder. She tells them Iris managed to delay death, but by doing that, she created a metaphysical backlog. Because those survivors went on to spawn kids and grandkids, and now death is collecting everyone connected to Paul and Iris like a grim reaper doing Ancestry.com cleanup. And the lineup? Iris was first, then Howard. Eric is next, then Julia, then Bobby, then their absentee mom Darlene, then Steph herself, and finally, poor pure Charlie. The room descends into chaos. People are yelling. Aunt Brenda's crying. They tell Steph to stop. She's scaring everyone. And frankly, she sounds insane. But Steph won't back down. She insists someone once cheated death. There's a way. Aunt Brenda snaps. She tells Steph to drop it. The cousins flee with their mom. Later, Steph is blowing up Eric's phone like a warning siren. Texts, voicemails, smoke signals. Eric, now aggressively annoyed, is done with her doomsday campaign. He ignores her and goes back to work. At Eric's tattoo shop, another ridiculous death chain reaction is about to go off. The ventilator above the chair? Yeah, it's somehow tangled in Eric's septum piercing. One tug from the fan, and the guy is suddenly being yanked around the room by his nose. He's flailing, he's screaming, and knocking over stuff. Something sparks, something sizzles, and then, boom, whole place goes up in flames. Cut to Steph the next day, death panic fully activated over Eric. She shakes Charlie awake, asking him about Eric. They head straight to the cousin's house. On the drive there, Charlie gets a text that Eric's tattoo shop burned down the previous night. Steph then almost runs over someone, and it is actually Eric. Still miraculously alive, and understandably pissed off that he's now survived a fire in a car. He is fully committed to mocking Steph's Final Destination campaign. He doesn't buy it. Steph's just standing there like, "You're supposed to be dead. Why are you here like some cockroach in designer leather?" They walk down the block arguing, Steph on edge like every pothole is a death portal. Just then, Julia comes out ready for a jog. Then the garbage truck shows up. A soccer ball comes flying down the street, and it hits Julia mid-run. She lands directly inside the trash bin. And right on cue, the garbage truck lifts the bin and drops Julia with the rest of the trash, ready to be crushed inside. The boys are screaming, but the garbage guy, he's deep in tinder. Steph is desperately trying to yank Julia out by the arm, but it's too late. Steph is left with that single arm. The rest of Julia is never mind. Now they believe Steph. Everyone's shaking, pale, staring at her like she's a prophet. Steph's like, "But it doesn't make sense. Julia died before Eric. That's not the order." Then, quietly, Aunt Brenda steps forward. She confesses that Eric isn't Howard's son. Cue, collective gasp. The order is intact. The death list is still on track. And Bobby is next. Finally, the entire family realizes the truth. Death is coming. It's moving through Howard's bloodline, one by one, in order of age. Then, once it's cleaned up that mess, it'll come for Darlene's side. Good news? Marty and Brenda are spared because they're not blood relatives. And Eric as well, thanks to Brenda's long-forgotten adultery. The room is in chaos. Bobby is begging Steph for help. Steph's in full panic mode. She doesn't know what to do. Bobby's like, "Weren't you rambling about some guy who cheated death?" And that's when it hits her. A single, scribbled note in Iris's book. JB found someone who survived. Darlene remembers something about JB from her mother's old letters. He worked at a hospital. Hope River Hospital, to be specific. Just an hour away. In the next shot, it's a full panic caravan. Bobby, Eric, Steph, Darlene, and Charlie, all racing to Hope River like they're late for a group exorcism. Inside the hospital, they finally meet JB, the last survivor of the Sky View incident, the little boy Iris saved. Turns out, he and Iris were pen pals of doom, trading notes for decades, trying to decode Death's user manual. Iris was protecting him, as well as her entire family. JB lays it all out. There are 2 ways to beat death. 1, take a life. 2, die and come back. But that one's a real gamble. He name drops Kimberly Corman as a success story, but his tone suggests she's probably missing a few pieces upstairs now. Steph asks why didn't Iris try to die and come back? But JB tells her it's not that simple. That death doesn't like being played with. Finally, he tells them there is no hope. They are all already dead. And with that, JB leaves. Eric, in full chaotic genius mode, is dead set on killing Bobby with his peanut allergy and bringing him back to life. The 2 sneak off, leaving Steph, Charlie, and Darlene, who oppose the idea, behind. The plan is idiotic. Feed Bobby a snack loaded with nuts, let him die, then revive him. They sneak into an empty MRI room, and Bobby eats a damn peanut butter cup. He is in full anaphylactic shock. Just then, the MRI machine goes haywire. Eric's piercings get violently yanked. He's ripped across the room and stuck to the machine, and then a wheelchair crushes his back in half. Bobby manages to get his EpiPen and starts breathing when a nurse opens the door to check what's happening inside, and then a coil launches out of the vending machine and drills straight into Bobby's skull. By the time Darlene, Steph, and Charlie arrive, it's a horror show. A death exhibit with no survivors. Eric, once supposedly safe, was clearly not. Steph realizes trying to mess death plans will get you on his list for sure. They are wrecked and hopeless. There's nowhere to hide. Except one place, Iris's cabin. If Iris could hide there and keep death at bay, maybe Darlene can do the same. As long as she's alive, her kids will be safe. So they load into the RV and make a run for it. They just need to get Darlene inside the cabin. Simple. Steph floors it, crashing through Iris's gate and stopping just short of the pond. Except, of course, her seatbelt jams. She tells him to go. Darlene and Charlie jump out. But as Darlene reaches the door, the cabin explodes. A perfect chain reaction. The blast launches the RV into the water. Steph is stuck, drowning. Outside, Darlene pulls Charlie free from under a collapsed rooftop and begs him to save Steph. Just as Darlene tells him, she will be fine. A lamppost teeters nearby and collapses on top of her, crushing her. Charlie has no time to even react to his mother's death. He dives back in the RV, breaks the seatbelt. Steph is lifeless. He pulls her out and performs CPR. It works. She lives. They're the only survivors. Steph technically died and came back. The curse is broken. Life can resume. Cut to 1 week later. Charlie's prom. He, Steph, and Marty head out to pick up Charlie's date. In front of her house, her dad casually mentions that Steph's heart never actually stopped. No big deal. Except it is. Because if she never died, the list isn't finished. Right on cue, a penny drops. It rolls, hits the tracks, and gets stuck. A speeding train hauling logs derails. The cargo rockets through the neighborhood. And Steph and Charlie are crushed one after the other. Game over. So, in classic Final Destination fashion, just when you think they've escaped, death cashes in the receipts, and the body count gets its final 2 signatures. Final Destination Bloodlines is a brutal reminder that you can't hide, you can't cheat, and if your last name's on the ledger, you're already dead. Thanks for watching. And until next time,